am not your average booktuber who reads like 10 books in a month. So many people do that. I just don't feel like I have the time for that right now. But I have 6 books right here that demanded my attention once they grabbed me, and I finished them within a day, which is so rare for me. So I'd like to share them with you so that you can enjoy these fantastic creations. Where am I going? The first book that I'm going to be talking about is Asking for It by Louise O'Neill, and is it to anybody's surprise? I think I've mentioned her in the last 5 videos I've done because she is incredible, and Asking for It was her second novel, which deals with topics to do with rape culture, consent, all that kinds of stuff, and it's incredible. I love it. I read it and I was like, why did I not write it? The struggles of being a reader who wants to be an author. One of the things that I really freaking love about this book is that it tackles the idea that nobody deserves to be raped, no matter who they are, no matter what they've done, no matter what kind of person they are, they don't deserve it. So like, you know the way people can sometimes be like, oh, but they're wearing really short clothes and so they kind of deserved it, they kind of brought it on themselves. Or people who go, oh, but they're drinking so much they had no respect for themselves, and so why would somebody else respect them? Sorry, but everybody should be respectful of others no matter how they feel about themselves. So you can just go back over into your little corner, get in your box, and then shut it for eternity because you should not be speaking right now. So yes, Louise O'Neill's book Asking for It, if you haven't read it already, I would highly recommend it. And also she's releasing 2 new books this year in case you haven't heard me mention it. I want to talk about Female Chauvinist Pigs for a moment because that's an incredible book on feminism and the sex industry. So whether women can reclaim their bodies as their own and use them for things like prostitution and pole dancing, and whether that's good that they're using their bodies to support themselves or whether it's bad for the feminist movement and what that actually means. I can't remember it too clearly, but I remember reading about Hugh Hefner's role within the feminist movement and being so surprised. Hugh Hefner was actually a supporter of feminism, even though his magazine was so like showing women as sexual objects. At the same time, he would apparently have articles about abortion and legalizing abortion. So that was just one of the surprises that I got within the book, and I found it was full of that, and it was full of making me think more critically about the sex industry and that kind of stuff, and whether it actually was good for feminism or whether it wasn't, and where I stood on that. So Nothing Tastes as Good by Claire Hennessy is another book that I read not within one day, but within a 24-hour period. So there's 2 main characters, Annabelle and Julia, and Annabelle is actually Julia's guardian angel of sorts. So Annabelle is going to help Julia, but Julia is fat. So Annabelle thinks that the way that she has to help Julia is by making her lose weight, and so Julia develops an eating disorder. It really shows the lengths that people will go to lose weight, and to not just lose weight but regain a feeling of control on their lives, or at least this aspect of their life when they can control their weight and their eating habits and everything. It was a really interesting book. As someone who was going through an eating disorder at the time, it probably wasn't the right thing to read because I did find myself kind of being a bit triggered by the book, and I was reading about how she was starving herself and whatever, and then that was pushing me to starve myself. But because I read it so quickly, by the time that the book ended, all that triggering was kind of done, and it didn't last very long. So, you know, if you're suffering from an eating disorder, maybe read the book really quickly because you don't want to spread it out over a few days or a couple of weeks and be constantly triggered every single day that you read it. The next book I want to recommend is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's book, We Should All Be Feminist, which was the first book that I read in the space of about 4 or 5 months. It's very short. You can read it in the space of like half an hour, depending on how fast you read. It's got big fonts and everything, you know, really helps you out there. But it's really good, it's pocket sized, you can carry it around everywhere, shove it in people's faces and be like, this is why you should be a feminist, and just let them read it. Stand there for about 20 minutes while they read, and then they'll go, yeah, I can see your point now, we should all be feminists, and it'll just make the world a much better place. You could read that in one day, even if you're a really, really slow reader, unless you're really, really, really slow, in which case, no, sorry, not for you. But take 2 days and you'll be grand. I want to recommend The Perks of Being a Wallflower as a book to read in one day, because I think that this is just a brilliant experience. It's a bit of a roller coaster. You don't really know where it's going, but then at the same time you do. I remember going through it and being like, I want to be with this character forever, and at the same time I want to see where it goes and what happens at the end and how it ends. I thought it was an incredible story. I probably don't need to say much about it, so because like everyone pretty much knows about it, but Perks Being Wallflower, great book to read in one day if you're ever stuck for a readathon or something. So those are 6 books that I'd recommend that you read in one day. Not all in one day, just, you know, one day per book. Unless you're like crazy good at reading, in which case, yeah, sure, go for it, like. But just be aware that all of these are kind of emotional roller coasters, so you may not be able to emotionally deal with the strain of reading all these books, particularly asking for it. Like, don't read that and Nothing Tastes as Good in the same day, because you will be overwhelmed and you will be drained. If you're new here, then I recommend you subscribe to me, because I am incredible at talking about bookish things to do with mental health, feminism, young adult fiction. If you have read any of these books, or if you want to read any of them, let me know in the comment section down below what you're thinking. Are you gonna read Asking for It? I've been pushing it enough. I've been pushing it for a year now, so I'd highly recommend you do. So thanks very much for watching anyway though. Slán.